This is the JWN podcast. My guest today is a singer-songwriter and South Carolina native whose music truly captures that southern coastal sound. He's the frontman of the band Youngster, and his latest solo work features the Charleston indie rock dream team of Dries Venderberg from Susto Human Resources and drummer Creighton Barrett from Band of Horses. I know you're going to enjoy this one. Here's my conversation with Blake Ratliffe. I don't know you personally, which is exciting to me because
maybe that'll make it fun.
Yeah, but I know we know a lot of the same people.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know them a lot better and more intimately than I do as far as you work with them in music.
Yeah.
And the new single that just came out is fantastic. You have like a whole new record recorded with those guys?
We're working on it. Mainly with Dries Venderberg producing it. Our second single should be out next month.
Wow.
But yeah, we already had the first one, Whatever It Takes. And then we want to have about 8 or 9 songs for the full-length album. And so we'll probably do 1 or 2 more singles before the whole thing comes out.
So, but previously to this, you were performing as the Youngster. Was that more of a band type of situation, or was that really your project? Were you writing all the songs for Youngster as well?
I would do a good bit of the writing, but also was Daniel Trunzolito. Me and him would write them all together, and so it kind of was more of a band.
Yeah.
We were the primary songwriters, and a lot of times we would perform with Matt Zutel and Aaron Utterback. They were probably our core band because they also recorded on the record, with that too.
Right. So you just kind of come from a more of a singer-songwriter type of situation. So when you got together with Dries, how did that come together? Is that more from his old days of Human Resources, which I still our current days, they're still playing around, but
they just released a song too.
That song's awesome. Your song is really good too. I'm like, man,
thanks, man.
Charleston. I've been talking to various people in the Charleston arts community about the Charleston sound, and I'm trying to find words for it. It's hard because it's subtle, but it's like there's a beachiness to it. There's a certain groove going on there.
You think kind of collectively there's
an underlying thing going on in not all of it, just kind of in that rock and roll, like the version of folk music coming out of here or rock and roll music. They really do converge a lot in that sound. It's almost like if I were to say, the West Coast has their beach goth type of sound, that kind of laid back. But still, it has this cool groove that you can move to. That kind of thing.
Definitely.
And you see a lot of that going on. I think we have our own version of that here. Yeah. And I see it in bands. And I think part of the recipe that I'm imagining in my head is this real pop sensibility.
Yeah.
Like all your songs that I've heard so far from Youngster and now your solo work, it's very like these are pop songs.
Yeah, thank you.
They're really like,
and that's funny you say pop because like definitely when I was like a teenager, I never would have wanted to be classified as like pop. I wanted to be like rock or indie rock or something like that. But now I've kind of embraced it.
Yeah,
and I think the new album, at least some of the songs, there is a good bit of variety and versatility in this record, but some of the songs are definitely pop, and I'm happy with it.
So when you when you were a teenager, what were your indie rock heroes? Because you're a bit younger than I am, I imagine, considering that you don't
30.
have gray hair.
Be 31 on Sunday, actually.
Hey, congratulations!
Thank you. But indie rock heroes, definitely The Strokes, My Morning Jacket, Phoenix, Cake.
This sounds like every year at Shaky Knees. The Shaky Knees Festival.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I've never been.
Oh my gosh.
But
I've seen all of these bands at Shaky Knees.
Really?
They're over the years. Yeah.
I've seen them too, but different places.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I don't know why I always had like this bad idea of pop. Probably because when I was a kid, pop meant like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys,
Right.
and Britney Spears, which they're all great in their own way too.
I know. Now, when you look as a musician, when you
Yeah.
pick apart that stuff, I can relate in a similar way as to looking back when I was recording back in those days, many years ago, in the late '90s and whatnot. Talking about like the recording quality of, say, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And you look at like the musicianship and all of that stuff. And the same thing can be said about a lot of those bands. A lot of them come from this small group, this collective of like producers and whatnot that, you know, it may be glossy and not
Very.
meant for you or me. But when you, as a musician, you start to look at it and you go like, oh, hold on a second. I see what they're doing here. You pick it apart.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and it's also good with any type of artistry to like grow with it and learn to appreciate and maybe even take apart things like that, kind of what you were saying, and have a respect and admiration for it in some way, where you do kind of try and understand more.
Yeah, and then you can pick out the ones that are like genuine too. Like you start to see like the artists that really care about these things, as opposed to the ones that maybe just showed up and they're a pretty face for whatever someone's vision of what a pop star should be.
Yeah, those are more difficult to have a genuine appreciation for.
But like a Lady Gaga to me, like I love her. I'm
super
like,
talented.
I'm like, gosh. But then you see someone like what's her name, Miley Cyrus, who.
Great singer.
Could have been that for the other thing I said. She could have been like the pretty face that's just put in you know, because the way she came up was so, you know, it was so crazy. Yeah, it's just like it was doomed for failure, but she ended up just having an actual talent in her that she found and took off with it on her own. Yeah,
and she went her own way, which I'm sure, like, obviously, I'm sure the record label and the media ended up loving it because it made her more popular.
Yeah, it gave her longevity.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that worked.
All right. So you grew up here in Charleston?
I've been here for about 5 years, but I always from South Carolina. Couple hours away, little town called Florence, South Carolina.
I've been to Florence once. They got a hospital.
Lot of people say that. They do.
They got a
couple. I was born there.
Yeah, they're well, it's one of those things. It's like when you go to Florence, you're like, there's a lot of medical stuff here.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually used to work for, you might be referring to McLeod Hospital.
Possibly.
Maybe. It's a big one. But actually recently MUSC bought the other hospital, which used to be called Carolina's Hospital System. Now it's MUSC, which is interesting. But
so Florence is kind of landlocked, very, very different very different vibe from, say, Charleston.
Very. It was cool though, because it's like an hour away from everything. Like hour from Myrtle Beach, hour from Columbia, 2 hours from Charleston, 2 hours from Charlotte. So I did get to kind of like see all these cool cities and music, and met a lot of my current musical friends while I was still in Florence.
Right.
And I wanted to move here a long time ago.
So what were how did you find your influences when you were growing up? Because South Carolina, it's easy to fall into so many different things.
Yeah.
But, you know, living in Florence, I would imagine like the pull to go towards a more country type of situation is probably strong. I imagine a lot of your friends are hunters and
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? Like there's a whole cultural lifestyle around the area that you live in.
Yeah, and me and my friends that were more into, I guess, a more eclectic taste, or like, you know, more artistic. We did kind of feel like not outsiders necessarily, but almost. Yeah, because Florence is mainly kind of how you described.
Yeah, it's just a cultural thing. It's just it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? To that area,
it does.
And pickup trucks and
all over,
all
over the place.
It's
raised up.
Yeah.
big antenna.
Oh yeah. And hunting season, it's like you can't get a hold of anybody to get anything done.
No.
But so you found yourself getting into the more indie rock, the alternative music type of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
How did you become? So guitar was your first instrument, or did you start somewhere else?
Yeah, it was guitar.
So how'd that happen?
In my neighborhood, a old friend that lived behind me, we just wanted to start writing some music. I was probably like 15 at the time. Got my first guitar, started learning the very simple, G, D, C. And I kind of struggled for a couple years, but was still passionate about it and self-taught, which takes longer, but I feel like there are some pros to that. And fast forward a few years later, started a band in Florence. A couple of my good old friends. That band was called Stray Hounds. Nice. And it was very indie rock, maybe a Charleston pop sound. I don't know. A lot of people said it was more kind of California, surf rock, rock sound.
Which I think they're very close, though.
There's similarities.
I think the South Carolina sound could easily translate into a West Coast.
Yeah, I think
sound.
So too.
It's just tiny little.
It's probably why
tweaks.
Hey Rocco moved over there.
It makes sense.
Yeah, to LA.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I started playing with Octopus Jones in Myrtle Beach. Okay. And we had a pretty good run for a while. I think if we had probably the proper management or something, we could have been a lot more successful. They ended up moving to Raleigh to try and make a bigger name for themselves, and I stayed behind. They moved to Charleston.
Yeah.
Started Youngster.
Myrtle Beach sounds like a tough place to, like any like touristy town. Like Charleston has big tourism, but not like Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is like strictly tourism. That's what they're known for. Yeah,
definitely. But it was interesting because for a while they had their own music scene there.
Really?
And it was super cool. We actually ended up getting to play at the House of Blues one time.
Heck yeah.
And that was a dream of mine when I was a kid. It was like, one day I want to play there.
That's awesome.
I saw the Strokes there and the Killers and tons of cool bands. And we got to play there. So it was a little milestone.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Myrtle Beach is it's one of those places when you don't live there and I go there pretty frequently.
Oh really?
My family owns some like a condo there or something like that, like a rental property.
Oh okay.
And so I'll go there for various reasons. I'll go there for the Myrtle Beach Marathon, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And going there off season is a lot more fun to me than going there when it's peak season. Going there off season is when you get to see Myrtle Beach. you know what I'm saying?
You can enjoy it a little bit.
Well, yeah, you got room to breathe, but you also see the weirdness of it, of the locals.
The locals.
Yes.
It's like our own little piece of Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely...
It's beautiful.
Yeah. They're a different breed, man. It's that touristy thing. I think Virginia Beach might be the same.
Oh, yeah.
There's just a similar type of vibe and some of those beachy kind of tourist trap areas that are just...
Never been to Virginia Beach.
It looks exactly like Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Just condos on the sand. That kind
the wing stores and all those.
Just exactly what you would think. It's very similar. There's a bunch of those going up the coast, and it's an interesting... It's its own thing. But when you see it, when you peel back the layers, and you get to see like the people who live there 24/7, all year round.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're a different breed. Definitely cool though. Definitely cool. They're living on it. They kind of remind me of the people that move down to the islands and like start their own like fishing things. They're just kind of down to like down into the Caribbean and whatnot. And those kind of people that just kind of like want to get off the radar. The similar mindset. I think. I don't know. Maybe I could be crazy. I could be going down and making things up. But it's just from my own personal experience. It's like there's a certain freedom of somebody who wants to live that kind of.
I don't think you're too far off.
Yeah.
With that thinking.
Yeah, and musicians kind of fall into that situation. Touring musicians.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, as a musician yourself, what's your touring? Have you been able to tour with Youngster? I'm not sure exactly how far you took them. I know you put out some records.
Did a pretty good bit with Octopus Jones before that, around like 2010 to 2012. We went up to New York a few times, and then one time we did like 2 or 3 weeks where we went all the way over to Texas and back through. That was a lot of fun. With Youngster, we were able to do one short tour just up the East Coast.
Yeah.
But it was great. I would love to do some more. Hopefully next year, maybe.
Yeah, this year's. I wonder what touring is going to look like in the future. Will it go back to normal? Will there be this? How many venues are going to be left? Will it be better for artists like you? Will there be more pop-up venues like at like breweries and coffee shops and things like that, where maybe not traditional music venues, but because the traditional venues may have not made it through this, there'll be more kind of alternative.
Could be, yeah.
And that might work in the favor of certain types of artists, especially up and coming artists.
Mm-hmm.
It would definitely. I know back in the 90s, we played mostly like weird places, like
that was the cool thing back
like
then,
fire halls and VFWs and places like that, where somebody would rent a PA system and and then after when you grow up, you're like, no one ever had insurance on any of this stuff. If somebody got hurt, like so many people were screwed. And but you don't think those
DIY.
Oh yeah, that punk rock work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're part of something I consider very much in line with that punk rock work ethic, and that's the Coast Records family of people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's such like this collective of musicians, and around Matt Zutell, I guess, is kind of he kind of coined the name, right?
Yeah, he did. And with Youngster, we were part of that. With this solo stuff, we are still connected in a way. But the only thing we recorded with him so far was drums. And we actually had Creighton Barrett from Band of Horses play drums on some of the album, and we did that at Matt's studio.
Awesome.
Apart from that, Dries and I have just been working on the music in Dries' studio.
Okay.
Yeah. So
which is like doesn't he live right in the same house as Matt?
He does.
But I guess Matt's studio might not be.
No. They both have their own studios now outside of home.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brave.
Yeah.
I know Matt.
They're all grown up.
I know Matt just opened up his from talking to him like right before the pandemic started. I was like, oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he moved his, I should say.
He did. Yeah. It's a really cool studio.
Yeah. I haven't been down to this new place. So I'm like, man,
it's really cool. It's up near Park Circle.
Awesome.
It's great.
That is awesome. Yeah. They've been having shows. They had a show, was it Babe Club played with Future Birds last night at the distillery, Firefly Distillery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been wanting to check that out.
I couldn't find any information on it, so I didn't go. And then I talked to some friends that went last night, and they were like, no, it was awesome. It was outside. It was similar to what they're doing at the Bend, where you get these squares, these like 10-foot by 10-foot squares where you could have 4 people in your square.
Okay.
And I kind of liked it. Like I went and saw Susto when they played at the Bend. And that situation, that outdoor situation, that was one of those things where like you go, I could get used to this part. Going to an outdoor show and having a barrier around your little group of people. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old, but it was nice to be able to just bring your chair, sit down and relax, and you could see everything fine. Everything sounded great.
Not have to fight the crowd.
Yeah. Part of the old part of me likes that. Then there's the part of me that kind of misses the getting up front and kind of getting tossed around. But, maybe they need to have like the old folks section at these outdoor shows, at these festivals. Yeah. I know they call them VIP sections, but those are awful. They're usually so...
Really?
Well, if you go to... have you been to High Water Festival?
No, haven't.
Okay. So it's hard to explain, but they usually put the VIP section off to the side.
Right.
And so, you'll have more space, but you're further away from from everything. And I think High Water does it right for the main stage. They have a like part of the front of the stage where VIP can go up there.
Oh, no, that's cool.
And kind of get up there and check out the show without getting like, everybody on top of you and fighting for space.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, I don't know.
It's not the same.
Yeah. I don't. I did like the Susto thing though. I did get. They also let you bring your own drinks in there too.
Oh, that's
they didn't want to sell food or drinks.
Oh,
so you could bring whatever you want. So it was like bringing a picnic. You bring food, you bring wine, beer,
great.
Whatever you want. Yeah, it was definitely a cool setup.
Yeah, I need to check that out. I know Ben Bridwell's playing the Firefly Distillery Saturday.
He's doing that with Justin, right? From Susto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw they're doing the square things there too. That'll be interesting.
Man, Saturday. Yeah, I'm so psyched that people are figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little nervous right now because our numbers are spiking back to like.
Yeah,
they're rapidly going up. So it's like, do I want to? But if it's outdoors, I generally don't feel unsafe.
Yeah.
But if it's an indoor situation, like I've been to a couple of things in the past over the summer where you go like, this doesn't feel right. And then you just kind of avoid those going forward, especially now.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So let's go back in time. We started to talk about family life growing up. You got brothers, sisters.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Tell me about it.
4 sisters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm the only boy.
Holy cow.
Yep, the youngest of them.
Wait, you were the little brother to 4 sisters.
Yeah.
Oh.
2 of them are a lot older. So there wasn't a whole lot of conflict really.
Yeah.
But my sister Brittany is only 3 years older than me, so we basically grew up together and are still very close. She lives in Florence. One lives in Texas, and the other right outside of Florence.
Similar personalities between the 4, very vastly different. How did they stack up? Like when you're like, I'm checking out the Strokes, and they're like, who? Or is it more like?
Well, the music taste is similar with some of us. Personalities vastly different. One of my sisters who also loves the Strokes too, and we've seen them together several times. She's extremely quiet. Artistic though. She's a amazing sketch artist and painter too. But yeah, we're all very different.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But did they hand you any kind of musical knowledge? Were you able to like, see, it's weird because did they have, I guess they still had CDs, I imagine growing up. So were you able to like pilfer their CDs and get
a little bit? When I really started to get into music, yeah, I had CDs and even some cassettes as well. My sister would show me some stuff. She introduced me to like Bright Eyes, I think.
Oh yeah,
and Cake. But the Strokes I actually discovered on my own through a CD. It was a compilation CD from the first Spider-Man movie.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, and the song wasn't part of the soundtrack, but it was like the music from the soundtrack and
influenced by
whatever, which is super strange. I don't know who thought of that concept. Have music on the album that wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah,
but it's cool though, but I'm glad because that was on there.
It was towards the tail end when you could actually sell soundtracks. And,
I bought it.
Yeah, and you had a record label if the soundtrack was put out by, say, whatever record label the Strokes are on.
RCA.
Yeah, so if that's the record label putting it out, they'll be like, oh, we have these other artists that we want to put on this thing. Push it out.
It's funny.
Yeah, but it worked, obviously, because it made a fan out of you.
Yeah, that was actually what made me want to learn guitar.
Really?
And start.
What song was on that soundtrack?
It was called When It Started. It was on the Strokes' first album.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard that. And then I heard like their hit songs like Last Night and
yeah.
Reptilia, all that good stuff.
When I first heard the Strokes, I was still living in New York, and I kind of was a little because they came out and the Killers came out around the same time.
Yeah, White Stripes.
The White Stripes. There was this whole rock and roll resurgence, but I was like, why are they all trying to sound like throwback sounds? Like the White Stripes were trying to sound like old blues. Mm-hmm. And the Strokes were trying to do this like kind of almost 50s-ish type of thing. Like I could even, this vintage sound, it has a lot more to do with his vocal style. And I kind of realized over the years, it's just, he uses like the SM57 and grabs the microphone at the head. And he's like creating his almost like own phone filter through his hand when he's singing. It's this weird effect. And I was like, oh, that's just the way he is. But then I saw them live. And my opinion of them completely got turned on to them.
Oh, really?
Like,
they're great live.
Yeah, I saw them live and I was like, whoa! Like that was really was such that they sound amazing. Like
they do.
And then I paid a lot more attention to them after I saw them live. But I remember the first couple of singles like Last Night and whatnot. I was like, I mean, it's a good song, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What is this? What are they trying to? What are they doing here?
Yeah.
And then once I saw them, it made sense. I was like, okay. I get it now.
And that one's actually one of my least favorite songs by them.
Yeah.
But I was like, they're probably still one of their biggest hits. It's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love them. Their last album's great too, the most recent one.
I was joking around with, I had Kaylin Oyer on here and I was like, did you remember like 20 years ago when the Strokes put out an album in 2020? Because it's been such a crazy, crazy year. There's all this great music that dropped, but because none of the bands got to tour it or anything, it hasn't had that same kind of effect of sinking into you and getting like excited. And
that's true.
It's been great, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know. I wonder what's going to happen when things start to open back up and return back to normal. I mean, by that time, do all these musicians have all new material now that they want to push forward? And then like, what happens to the material they had just put out? Do they just hold on to it and do those tours later? Or do they, because I imagine you as a musician, you probably feel the same way. It's not like you're going to sit down and just rest on these songs. You're going to keep moving.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You're putting out new music now. Yeah. So imagine if you put out all this music, you sat on it for a year.
Yeah.
You're not just going to not create more music. You're going to keep creating music. No. And by the time you go on tour again, you're like, well, I want to play these songs that I just wrote,
Yeah. Probably play both.
Well, yeah. But it's kind of an interesting idea to think of like the tours,
right?
The vibes that we're missing because of
this year.
Yeah. And some artists are adapting and doing their own live thing. Phoebe Bridgers being one of them that
really?
She completely impresses me every time she performs one of the songs off her new record for any media or whatever the situation is.
Yeah,
whatever she's performing it for, she does it completely differently.
Oh,
she puts a lot of effort into it.
Okay, like a kind of a different version or different sound.
Everything different version, visually different. Just different concepts.
I like that.
She did one, I think maybe on Jimmy Fallon or something like that. She just did a song in her bath. She's just sat in her bathtub.
Really?
Yes. Then she did another one for another guy where she was driving in a stunt car doing donuts for like around a parking lot.
Oh,
singing along to the track.
Wow.
Like just random stuff like that. But
That's pretty cool.
But she was really like just trying to one up herself, coming up with different ways. And then as the thing started to like open up, she was able to bring her other band musicians back into the fray. And she did some cool, recently she just did one in a theater where she had herself walking through the underground of this theater and going up to this raising platform that brought her up onto the stage.
Oh,
and
cool.
Then it was just this cool,
man.
Yeah, she's going all in with, she can't tour. So she's like, all right, I'm trying to push this record. Let me break down all the boundaries of what anyone has ever done before.
You remember when the floor thing reminded me of this randomly. You remember when Michael Jackson popped up out of the floor of the stage at the Super Bowl?
Dude, that performance is one of those,
Yeah,
That's
it was great.
it's weird because I think when you have them at the time, you don't realize some of those performances, like the Prince one.
Oh man,
they will go down in history where you're like, you remember that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was like the pinnacle, one of the pinnacles of their career. You don't think of it at the time, and then you're like, man,
yeah.
that was really cool.
Until hindsight, yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool.
yeah.
I saw that recently.
Yeah, you gotta love the YouTube for bringing up old
Just
stuff.
pops up and just stands still for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was great.
I love it. All right, so you're growing up. You got 4 older sisters.
Yeah.
You start playing music. What was your family's reaction to you kind of
That's good.
getting into bands and playing out? And I know that had to have taken a toll on everything else you do in your life because, like most musicians, you probably couldn't think about much else.
Yeah, so I had the conflict. I was really into playing hockey. And when I was about 19 or so, I kind of had to, in some ways, make a decision like, okay, I'm gonna move forward more strongly with playing music.
Yeah.
And that was tough. But yeah, my family supported me. I think my mom probably a little more so than my dad. She's always been very outgoing and creative and artistic too. She loves to act. She used to always be in theater and even in some movies and stuff like that too. My dad was like a math teacher for a long time.
Wow!
Works for a power company.
Hold on a second. Your mom was more of an artsy person, and your dad was the kind of logical.
Yes.
That's so cool. That's very interesting. They're still together, I take it?
No, but they're still.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. They're still very close friends.
Okay.
Yeah, very close. Yeah, they were together for a long time though. But yeah, I think my dad was just a little more hesitant, probably, because he was more concerned, like.
Yeah, he's running numbers like, this music industry thing, Napster and
yeah. But he didn't ever say no, like try and stop me or anything, because he knew I was passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted the best for me.
It's the best thing that a parent can do for their children is to kind of step out of the way and let them figure it out.
That's true.
Because I mean, if I told you couldn't do it as a parent, guess what?
What?
That's all you're going to want to do.
Oh yeah.
It's all. It's why the war on drugs failed so miserably. Not the band, the actual war on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because kids, just say no. It's like, no to what? This thing that's going to make you go into this,
the weed.
Other reality and see life in a different thing. Tell me more. Come on, explain this to me. All right, we'll send someone to your school and show you what it looks like and explain to you what each one does. Okay, I'm listening.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
they did that?
Oh yeah. They would send like a drug enforcement
like
agent.
A DEA.
Yeah, with drugs to your school, be like, this is what cocaine looks like, and this is the effects it'll have on you. Because I think the idea was to show you what the drugs were, so that if somebody said, "Hey kid, you want to try one of these?" you would know what it was.
And that logic makes sense,
right? But as young kids, you're like, "Don't do this, don't do this," and you're like,
Yeah.
They also tell us don't eat ice cream, and that stuff's good, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's true.
There's that rebellious nature of kids, and if you tell someone no, if you had a girlfriend that they thought was a bad influence, guess what? If they said don't date that girl, you'd be like, but I love her now.
And you're 16.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
I love her.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is just kind of step aside and give them the information, but don't enforce it too much to be like, hey, this is what the reality of the situation that you're doing is. But I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah. Those are the years when you do learn the most. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had some hard lessons even through my 20s, which is probably normal.
Oh yeah.
Too.
They don't stop, I don't think.
No, probably not.
I'm in my 40s. Still got some hard lessons going on.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, but that's definitely, that's great that you had supportive parents. That
Yeah, I love them. They were very good, very great.
heck yeah,
Still
man.
are.
Heck yeah. Now that brings me. So you have a supportive family,
Supportive wife.
supportive wife. Well, hopefully, did you grow up with your wife? How'd you meet her?
We met actually almost a year ago to the day.
Oh wow. Oh, so you're like newlywed.
Yeah, we met on an airplane 1 year ago. I sat next to her. And then,
Wait a second.
yeah,
That doesn't happen in real life.
it did happen in real
Oh
life.
my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, November 15th of last year, was on a plane and sat next to her. And then a week later, we had our first date, which was also my birthday, November 22nd. That was our first date. First time we said, I love you to each other. First date.
A week?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then, yeah, we got engaged probably 6 months later. We got married in August.
So do you think, because flying for some people, my wife included, is very stressful.
Yeah.
You know, your body's not designed to be thrown
I don't
through the
mind
middle
it.
of the air. I don't mind it either.
Yeah.
But I know how my wife is. But even driving, there's a certain level of heightened life or death situation that you're in.
Definitely
right?
in Somerville, I've learned.
Oh God.
Man, it's dog eat dog.
Oh yeah, no, they'll cut you off. But so they're so you met your wife while you're flying. Do you think that heightened sense of maybe
danger?
Well, yeah, that's just living in the now of when you're in a situation like that, where you have this heightened sense of
Could be part of it
of who you are and life, what everything means. I mean, I remember deciding that I wanted to pursue a serious relationship with my wife while I was on a flight, not with her, but just like that thought came to mind.
Yeah.
So that's why where I'm getting to is, do you think meeting her for the first time kind of fast forwarded like a lot of things so that you could chip away certain boundaries right off the bat?
Just right there.
Yeah.
Never thought about that, but I think that could be part of it.
Because that's quick, man. For
a
flight, then I love you in a week.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
She's the one.
Heck yeah. When you know, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and it was meant to be, being there on the plane together. Neither of us picked our seats or anything. Hers were even bought by a family member for her, which is funny. But he always reminds us of that too. He's like, I bought the seat.
Where's my finder's fee?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It helped the conversation flow probably, and figured out we had a lot in common very fast.
Wow.
And also, I think the most important thing was just where we were in our own personal lives, and
right.
We'd both been through bad relationships in the past and finally had some peace with ourselves. And we talked about that. That first day we met too.
Yeah. See, man, you got to have those conversations with somebody who
understands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a force brought you together.
I believe so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. 'Cause I believe 100% in those types of situations where like the things do line up.
Yeah, they do. I've seen it.
Yeah. And you're living it. You're living it.
It's real.
All right. So you get married to her.
Yeah.
You don't have any kids yet, do you?
I have an 11-year-old boy.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We skipped a chapter.
Yeah.
And we're playing Choose Your Own Adventure. We're just going to bounce around.
Yeah.
So I guess that might be the rough relationship that came up.
Yeah, one of them.
Not with your kid, but with your.
Oh no, he's great. He's very much like me too, but way smarter than I'll probably ever be. Right now, he says he wants to be an architect.
Nice.
Which I think may translate into like probably some kind of design or something, because he loves video games and stuff, especially the ones where you can like create
like a Minecraft or Roblox or.
Yeah, loves Minecraft and also in Fortnite where you can create your own world in there too. Loves all kinds of stuff like that. Loves Legos and anything like that. Very creative mind.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And architecture is also a very mathematical creative. There's a lot of calculation type of things. So that
definitely.
might be your, you've got those things in you.
Maybe somewhere.
Yeah, they're in there. They come from your parents.
Yeah, definitely my dad's side.
So, getting into these relationships and these things that fall together, what would you say is the theme of a lot of your songwriting? How does that relate to your real life experiences?
So this solo record is very personal in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
A lot of it's drawn from kind of deep inside, like the spirit. And then I've also written about my son too, and my wife. Just a few weeks after I met, I wrote a song for her, and that one's going to be on there too. That one's a really special song.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't want to rush any of them because they are very special, and I want it to have the sound that it needs to have,
right,
and not feel rushed or out of place at all.
Well, the single you just released sounds very, very well realized. Like every time I've listened to the song, there's a thing I pick out. Like on the way to the studio today, I put it on, and I was like, man, this bass line who's playing bass on this? Because it sounds freaking killer.
Yeah, Dries played bass on that.
Yeah. But it just kind of stood out to me. Maybe it just might be the system, the sound system in my car.
Yeah.
But the bass just kind of like jumped out at me. I was like, man, there's
a
lot. There's all of these little layers going on in the recording.
Yeah.
But on top of it, you're singing about whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Who's that geared towards?
It has, well, there's layers to it. It's not just
it's not one singular event or person that you're talking about.
No, not at all. So I wanted it to be relatable and make people wonder. So I don't think I'm going to give a clear answer here either.
You don't have to.
Yeah. But that's funny. The bass line, we were super stoked about that. We wanted it to sound like Paul McCartney and Wings. How he plays the bass, kind of like, and the song too.
Very energetic. It's very like it drives a lot
fun.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted the song and especially the bass line to be fun, energetic, kind of playful and entertaining.
So when you're writing these songs, are you more lyrically driven, or do you write the music and then kind of the words kind of form around a melody that comes in your head or something like that?
Some of them been both. Yeah. Usually I'll have an inspiration of like both at the same time, like a vocal melody or a lyric, and then I'll kind of have an idea for what the music behind it's going to be, and then maybe make a little acoustic demo real quick or something, and then start to build off of that.
Do you on your phone have like a voice recorder that's filled with little ideas? And
that's where Whatever It Takes was from.
Really?
Like 2 years ago, I had like just a verse in the chorus, and one day Dries was like, "Hey, do you have anything you want to record today? Like, I have some free time." And so I was like scrambling through my phone, and I found it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing that one." Like,
that's so cool.
Yeah,
it's like your little black book, but
I was like, I think this could be something, and I think it turned out pretty good. I'm super happy with it.
Yeah,
Dries is a great producer to work with too.
Heck yeah! Well, that guy's he's super talented in many aspects: videography, photography.
Yeah,
and on top of the music, and he seems like. I haven't sat down with him in this kind of situation. I probably should ask him soon.
You should
before things turn around. He has to go back out on tour. But it sounds like he's very technical, as well as visionary type of person, like creative.
Yeah, and kind of I think a good core of like discipline too.
Really,
with certain things in his life and like work scheduling. And I think all that kind of comes through with his techniques in production too.
Yeah.
You know, not wanting to do not wanting to overdo anything, or like if something's not working, we'll just try and think of a new idea or work on something else, to stay productive, pun intended. And yeah, it's been great and a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
I've enjoyed working with him.
So with your musical aspirations, career, and whatnot, what do you think going forward it's going to look like for you? As far as I know, right now you've got this music that you need to finish recording and put out there. What's your dream situation? Like, where in your kind of dream board of your mind, so to speak, where do you see yourself, let's say, a year from now, and hopefully,
if the world was like
if the world
2019,
if all of this talk of vaccines that are so positive right now, if it comes true, and by this time next year the world is pretty much on the road back to some sort of normalcy, where do you see yourself?
I think Dries and I will be working on our second or third album at that point. We'll have several super kick-ass music videos. We have some ideas for some. Hopefully they'll be out soon with me, him, and Creighton. I'm thinking we'll get some placements, maybe on a cool television show or something, or gain a little notoriety that way. I hope.
It's funny.
I want to.
That's what you just said right there is something like when I was coming up as a musician years ago. I know you don't know anything about my history as a musician, but I played in a band in the 90s.
What was that like?
It was totally, I imagine, different from the recording and distribution, but I imagine from the touring situation, very similar to what goes on. It's still the same struggle. But the music distribution and all that stuff is, getting music to people was a lot harder. Because
boots on the ground.
Right. There was no way to get it to them freely like you can now to promote yourself.
Yeah.
The radio stations had too much power and they weren't going to play an independent artist's music.
Yeah.
Unless it was a college station, which means you were playing to like 4 people who were, stoned in their bedroom at night, in their dorm room, that type of thing, So it was very difficult to get any kind of traction that way. But what you just said about getting on a TV show, that was against the law of that time. That was selling out. That was like, oh no, you can't sell your music to a commercial or to a TV show or something like that.
Was selling out?
Yeah, that was kind of like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't license your music for other stuff. It was definitely a weird, but it's somewhere along the lines when the music industry changed, that became a lot more acceptable for smaller bands because
it's a big deal.
Well, Human Resources, they got their in like a truck commercial or something like that. Nissan commercial. Yeah, they got a song of theirs on there. And no one sits there and goes like, oh, you sellouts. They go like, no, dude, that's awesome. That's congratulations.
Yeah,
you guys
absolutely.
got paid. You can you can afford to do this, that, the other thing now. You get some recognition.
Maybe you can buy a Nissan.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that like, you don't really, there's no shame in that now. In trying to make some money off of your music in that aspect, because
that's interesting that you said it was like selling out in the 90s. I think that was just because of the genre you were in, and because you were in the Clash, and the Clash wouldn't do that.
It very much so, but I think I think if you were playing mall rock, as I would as I would call it, you would be aspiring to that, but that's a different crowd, when you come out of that night, like a Britney Spears or something like that, or
like we were talking about at the beginning.
So that they're not going to judge you for that, but if you're if you're playing in hardcore shows and things like that, and punk rock shows, they're not going to look kindly on you.
Yeah.
And that was just the mindset. Maybe it had something to do with the Beastie Boys, famously saying you ain't going to hear us in no TV ad type of thing.
Yeah.
Although
I'm sure it happened.
I'm reading in their latest book how they had one of their early songs before they were even like signed or anything in it's an airline. You took the song illegally and put it in an ad, and they got this huge settlement out of them.
Oh, really?
And it really helped skyrocket their career.
Isn't that ironic?
At the time, yeah. But then they were all very anti-commercialism.
Yeah, never again.
When MCA like passed away, he had like a clause in there, in with the Beastie Boys that like they could never commercialize the music.
Really?
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, and
took it to his grave.
Yeah. Yeah, he was,
wow.
That was the mindset, though. That was that time. That's
crazy.
That 90s mentality for rock and roll, and I guess, well, they were hip hop, but they were still pretty rock and roll.
Yeah,
but but what I was getting to is now it's a totally different. It's very acceptable. It's not like even looked down upon. I don't think anyone cares.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think it should be.
Yeah, well, it makes sense now because
you're
not going to get paid from your music recordings.
Yeah. I think it's cool too. I've always, apart from music, I always wanted to be like either a director or cinematographer too. Love movies.
Yeah.
Very, very much. But like the idea of like having your song associated with like a movie scene or even something as simple as like a commercial too. I think that's super cool. And I think there is some interesting artistic integrity to that.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, you sold out and your song's on the air.
Right.
It's like, oh man, like that's cool. Like Human Resources, their song on the commercial, like it's badass.
Yeah. And you don't realize it. It's just, you're like, wait, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. I think that was on their first record too.
Yeah.
So that's funny that song got pulled up for that. You never know when it'll happen.
Well, exactly. And you don't know who in the film industry used to be New York, LA.
Yeah.
Now it's Atlanta's a huge place. Charleston's got a lot of production going on.
Yeah.
So all of these other places around the country now, you never know who's listening. You never know who's sitting there going like, oh, this song that I heard on Ohm Radio, like the local. Yeah. You're like, oh, I really like that. I want to use this. It's, it's, they're thinking, they're filming in the area, and here's a musician from the area that captures the vibe of the area, and all of a sudden,
I hope your words ring true.
Heck yeah.
I would be so happy if that happened.
Yeah. And who knows what that means in the long term, but you never know, because there are those situations where, remember, I don't know if you pay attention on the technology front, but like Apple used to break musicians constantly.
Yeah.
Whenever they'd had an iPod commercial back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And whatever song was in the iPod commercial that artist would become huge.
I remember it happened to Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah.
You remember them? The UK band?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were around the same time as the Strokes, and they came up around the same time.
But I think they were on an iPod commercial, or like, one of the ones, and it was like,
and all of a sudden
it was a huge deal, because the commercial was a huge deal in itself because of the product, and then the cool song to go with it. Everybody loved it.
I'll bring up Phoebe Bridgers again, only because I just saw this pop up, I think today, an old Apple commercial for the iPhone 5S maybe, or 5, one of the iPhone 5s.
Yeah.
And it's her before she was discovered playing a Pixies cover, and she's playing the song Gigantic.
Yeah.
That's her, the girl singing it.
Okay.
And
is she like physically in the commercial too?
Yes. Yeah. But she's really young.
Wow.
Like, and so, she looks like a teenager in it. I don't know. She must have been, I don't know how old she was when that came out. But she looks really young. And I was just laughing. I was like, here's Phoebe Bridgers. And now she's become a lot more, I don't know. I wouldn't call her famous, but she's definitely very respected amongst musicians and singer-songwriters and people who listen to that type of music. But I just thought it was funny because Apple just released the iPhone Mini, which is actually larger than the iPhone 5S. And the iPhone 5S, they were using the song "Gigantic" to describe it because it was largest iPhone at the time.
Right. That's funny.
But now the iPhone Mini is actually even bigger than the iPhone 5S.
Yeah. They're just going back to like 4 and 5 size.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But I just found that interesting. But that, reminded me of like an artist before they were famous being in a commercial.
Yeah, behind the music.
There you go. All right, man.
That is pretty cool.
So it's so interesting to hear, by the way, that whole thing. It's just that part is foreign to me. Like thinking along those terms, like that's weird. That's kind of the making it thing is getting recognized in that, because who listens to the radio anymore?
Yeah, I know, right?
You know,
hopefully a few people did the other day.
Well, you know what I'm saying, like that.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. But you think about it, those terms, like radio is like become what a bastion for conservative talk radio, and I don't know how many people are listening to music. It's usually top 40 type music, and it's become so consolidated that it's the same station all over the place instead of local stations. Then you have
classic rock.
Yeah, and then you have those tiny little stations like Ohm Radio, where it's. Do they call it OHM or Ohm? It's spelled out. Yeah, Ohm. Ohm. There you go. They have their little studio in the. Did you go into the workshop? Is that where I
actually did it via Zoom.
Oh, so you didn't even go. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
We made it seem to the listeners like it was happening live, though.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Radio magic.
Heck yeah!
I'm sure you know all about that.
This is going live right now. Everyone can hear you. No, but yes.
Maybe it is.
All right, dude. Well, best place for people to find you,
I would say, to hear the music.
Yeah. Well, do you have a website?
Not yet. Working on that.
So social media. I feel like everyone's just putting a lot of their effort in social media these days for.
Yeah, it seems to be the best way to do it. But Instagram at Blake Ratliffe, Ratliffe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the music is now up on Spotify, Apple Music, everything, YouTube, Amazon, and a new single next month called Diamonds.
Now, what's that about?
Ooh.
You don't want to say. Is this another secret?
It could be an exclusive. Diamonds is about searching for something that you think is impossible to find and finally finding it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Is this the love letter to your
one of them
to your wife or
yeah, the one I wrote right after I met her is called When I'm Dreaming of You. Yeah, and that'll be on the album.
That's so awesome, man. I'm so happy to hear that story.
Yeah, thank you.
It's definitely that's a great.
It's real.
Well, yeah, I mean,
love is real.
I love when people know and they just go for it.
Yeah, we did. We didn't want to wait around.
What's her creative outlet? Does she have a creative outlet?
She's a teacher.
So she's very patient.
Yeah. Not with me. No, I'm just kidding. She is. She's awesome. Yeah, she teaches art.
Well, there you go.
To all grades, all kinds of kids.
Man.
Yeah.
So we got the singer-songwriter and the art teacher together.
Yep.
Dude, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
All right, so at Blake Ratliffe on Instagram.
Yep.
And Spotify. I'll link up the Spotify and stuff on here on my show notes.
Okay.
And and everyone needs to check out the song. Hey, do I have your permission to play some of the song, any of your music?
Yes. Well,
the podcast. What do you have rights to?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have the rights to it. You can play it.
You know what's funny is I always ask, and then I'll still get flagged for things of artists because they might they might have put their music out through a service that will claim copyright on it.
Oh, well, I hope that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. It won't hurt me though.
Okay. It's not because of me.
Yeah. So far, it hasn't given me a problem. I've heard nightmare stories of people's podcasts getting like pulled out of different directories for playing music on it.
Oh boy.
But
whatever I need to sign, I'll fight for you, man.
no, just you talking right there is more than enough.
I hereby sign
my whole rights. Now watch what, like 2 years from now, you're like the next Garth Brooks or some shit. You're selling tons of music, and I'm like, dude, I got rights to all his music. Listen to this.
Where are my royalty checks at? Haven't seen a dime.
Damn, that guy really took me for a ride. All right, man. This has been awesome, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
I had a lot of fun getting to know you, and I can't wait to hear the rest of this music because I think you've been touched in a certain way that you've accepted the muse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
touched by an angel, perhaps.
Yeah,
some might say.
It's never going to be an easy path, especially for the life of a musician. But you're receiving and you're giving back.
I hope so.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I waited all night just to be by your side, and I wait all night holding your hand tight. I'll do whatever it takes, even if I'm lonely and my own heart breaks.
Before you get going, don't forget to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And also, you can check out more at jwnpod.com or follow me on Instagram at Joe Latex. That's at JOEL, the number 8X. Have a great day. Peace.